All right. Welcome to the first Retention Secrets podcast. Today I have a very special guest with me. Nick is a very good friend of mine, well, unless he says otherwise. But he's had great success with dropshipping from an early age. He's been in Luke Belmar's Capital Club community several times. He lives between the Netherlands and Bali. He's all over the place. And now he's transitioning from dropshipping into building Revive, a very innovative D2C fashion brand that he'll, let us know more about. Basically, in this podcast, we're going to talk about Nick's journey for a little bit, and then and how he got this early success with dropshipping, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of dropshipping and the reason why Nick chose to transition from doing dropshipping to building a D2C brand. So, whether you are in dropshipping, D2C, or have anything to do with e-commerce, I genuinely think that you cannot miss this one. So without further ado, Nick, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for taking the time. Why don't you give us a quick intro about yourself, how you got into e-commerce, and a little bit about yourself.
Sure, Iker. Thanks a lot, first of all, for your introduction. I have not much to add to it, and of course, I'm happy to take the time for you to elaborate more on how the journey has been for me, and hopefully I can share some valuable insights on what I've learned so far during the years. So to add to what you have said, indeed, like I started when I was 15, actually, and 15. I almost turned 16, and I went to like a specific place here in the Netherlands in which you can register yourself as a company. So that's what I did. I really remember like the photo that my mom took at that point of time. So that has been right now almost 5 years ago. Already in April, that will be 5 years. And since then I've started dropshipping, and that's how the first couple of years for me have went. I was struggling in the beginning, since also I was juggling around with school and dropshipping by the side. And then at the moment that I graduated basically from high school, I decided to go all into entrepreneurship basically, and decided not to continue studying. So then things were going pretty fast, and the results were coming after about half a year then, but then I was already 2.5 years down the line. And since then, in April 2023, it was that I booked my first success, and then it went really fast, where I was able to scale for like literally 800 euros in loss to like 600,000 in revenue over the 3 next months. So it was like going really fast at that point of time. So learned a lot from that. And one of the things that I learned to directly transition into what I'm doing right now is that at a certain point, since as fast as it goes up, I always say it always goes down as well. So the higher the faster your way to the top is, the faster most of the time it is the way down as well. So then at like about a year ago, it has been right now in March 2024, I was thinking about, okay, what do I want to do for the future? And then I decided that I really actually wanted to build something for the future. And it costed me about 2-3 months actually, where I was looking for what I wanted to do. And at a certain point of time, it was May 2024 when I founded the company that I'm building right now on together with my brother as well. That's Revive. Indeed, basically what we do is we deliver a personalized shopping experience towards our customers, and we do so with secondhand clothing. So we try to deliver a nice experience to the customer, which is not always the case with dropshipping. And so far the results haven't gone so fast as we did with dropshipping, but I get way more excitement from what I'm doing right now, and I know that what we are going to do will go through the roof in some point of time. So it's really happy on where I am right now, and I would love to share more on what I experienced during the journey.
That's awesome, man. I was gonna ask, why so early? Like, why did you start at 15? Like, honestly, like myself, I was playing basketball. I wasn't thinking about anything, like not working, not doing anything, just, playing sports. So how do you get that urge, or like that, I don't know, that call to be like, okay, I'm gonna, I'm gonna start my own business. I'm gonna go register, my business in the Netherlands. Like, how do you get to that point?
Yeah, actually, it was. I have to give the credits to my brother. It was during COVID, since yeah, if you count back the years, it was like about 5 years ago, as I said, like 2020, April 2020. And at that point of time, COVID was going on, and I was doing like pretty good at school, so I had quite some free time basically. And where I used to play like FIFA, I decided, okay, let's now play a game in real life. So then I started to do business, and that was basically like FIFA, but then another kind of FIFA. So still trading and stuff, and that's how it basically has been for me, the transition. And yeah, I got hooked, I got addicted towards the game, especially when the money was coming in. So then I transitioned into it. So I have to give the credits to my dad, to my brother, excuse me. Who my dad was like he was like, okay, come on, bro, come on, let's go studying. But no, I
Do
decided not to
something
do
with
that.
your life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, no. But my brother, he was the one who took a course of like the famous guy here in the Netherlands who set up like a lot of dropship, who was like the biggest in like info products, especially with dropshipping. He bought his course.
Mhm.
I yeah, used that course as well to set up my first store, and from there on, I started building. So that's how the first years, or actually like my connection or my
Mhm.
start with
Mhm.
dropshipping has been.
And I'll get back to what you said about May 2024, because actually we met not like a long time before that, and I think you were already like thinking about this stuff. But at what point, like from when you start at 15, trying to play this like real game thing, at what point you're like, okay, this is serious. I'm making, some serious money. I can make a living out of this. Like, when did that point come to life?
Actually, yeah. Also here, I have to dedicate a lot of the credits towards my environment and the fact that the friends I was doing this together with, like my brother, but also the group of friends we assembled pretty quickly around us, and we're also doing this. And it was indeed the fact that you see other people popping up, and you see like, okay, I think it's pretty common sense. And nowadays you see it more and more often, where people see like, okay, when he can do it, I can do it as well. So actually, at my first month, like I said that I started like April 2020, and like in May 2020, I already hit like 10K a month, which was back at these times like quite a lot, and also especially during your first
Profit
month.
or
No, no,
revenue?
no, not in profit, in revenue. Oh, excuse me. Wait, that's the door. Yeah, but
It's okay.
let,
You wanna get it? It's okay.
yeah, if that would be okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would.
no problem.
Excuse me. I was already afraid
uh,
for this to happen.
I
Yeah,
think oh yeah, the 10K a month.
yeah,
So
correct.
when was that that first 10K a month in revenue with the store that or multiple stores?
Yeah, that was actually like May 2020, as I said, like after already 1 month. And then I was like, for actually like 2 years, as I did just said in the introduction, I was struggling, and I wanted to see, okay, yeah, how could I continue this? But I saw the first success, and that's what, to come back to your question, made me like hooked and say like, okay, I will continue this. And yeah, also the fact that as I said, like I saw other people succeeding with this, I saw like, okay, like I can do this as well. Let's just at least give it a try. And then from there, it was also the fact that you start building your life. Like it's way more than just the business that you're building. It's like a whole lifestyle. So also with all the friends that around me that were doing this, I I was already like an entrepreneur through the whole side of things. Like it's a wider aspect, as you can probably agree with as well. So that was actually the reason why there was no other option for me than continuing this. And then I saw like, okay, this is what I want. This resonates with, I think, who I am. And yeah, I'm really happy that I took that decision.
Mhm. That's interesting. How do you handle managing so much money, or like seeing so much money coming in at such an early age? Because I feel like many people could get lost in that. And for people who don't know, like you're like very young, like you have a lot of years in front of you, and that's what I'm saying. Like Nick got really like a success story from like an early age, and now he's trying to build something different and transitioning. But I feel like one of the things that I really like about you, and from the first time we met, it was that I could tell you, you had your feet on the floor. You were settled, like you were not on the clouds. Just bragging about money and all this kind of stuff. Showing off. So, how do you handle that? Is that like thanks to your parents, to your environment? Like, how do you manage that?
Yeah, actually, like I have always felt already before I started with entrepreneurship, I don't have never felt like that I'm gifted in some way, that I'm like a son of God or something in that way. But I feel that I'm really blessed with the situation that I grew up in. Like I think I've pretty good brains to deal with, as well as like in general the fact that I was born in the Netherlands and got all the chances I ever needed, and therefore I also felt like, okay, I wouldn't say like it's my duty to make something of it, but at least I can try my best. So and that's also what makes me okay. Like I kind of feel like this is the duty that I have to realize, but also due to the fact that I saw other people around me who were also always doing well, and saw like who were even doing bigger than me, and that's also what keeps you humble. And as well as basically you see the results coming in, but what does it actually matter? I think it's also a bit of a personality. Like for me also, my reason for starting with entrepreneurship and making the money has not been like initially to have like the yet I don't know, partying and all those kinds of things. So it's also, I think, just a bit of my personality.
Mm-hmm. And before moving on to the transitioning to the brand, what made you, like, what motivated you? If it's not the money and everything else, like, what was it about you and your personality that was like, okay, yeah, I want to keep doing this, I want to keep pursuing this? Because at the end of the day, at that moment, it could be like, yeah, I just want to keep making more money. So what is it about that motivated you to keep going?
Yeah, really good question, honestly. I also was discussing this, like, I remember that moment really well, where I was thinking about this with one of my great friends, and we were doing like the 7 levels deep exercise. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with it, but then we were also like trying to found out what is it that motivates us, because as an entrepreneur, yeah, as you can also, I think, yeah, agree with that, you have to face quite some obstacles. So there must be something that is, even though there are so many obstacles, pushes you through. So for me, that has been just the fulfillment that I have, and also I think it's coming maybe also from something, by overcoming the regret. But that's something like a kind of disciplined way of living that I got, I think, from my mom, who also has been like pretty perfectionistic as well as I am, I think. And yeah, that's just a lifestyle or a way of living, I would say, where you just pursue the best. And the fulfillment that I'm getting right now, as we are transitioning into what I'm doing right now, is what brings me that fulfillment and that excitement. And I at a certain point saw like, hey, this is kind of funny. Like I can put in results, I can put in the inputs, and it generates results. And at a certain point, if you see that's happening, then you want more of it. So that's what's stimulating me nowadays. And the things that we can do with those results are, then of course also happy to take that with me. The things you can do with money from all kinds of aspects are also like, of course, like funny to have with it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, man. I want to transition now to what you were saying about May 2023. No, 2024. Sorry, May
Yes.
2024. Because we actually met, if I'm not mistaken, in March, so
Right.
2 months before that, and
Right.
I could already tell that you were very like in your thoughts, like
Correct. Yeah.
I guess thinking about the next steps that you were gonna take, in some sense. Um, what is it about those months that you were like, okay, first of all, why do you stop to think? Because with that inertia and like that cycle of like making money, scaling, making money, scaling, I think you can get lost. So what is it about? What is there a moment? Is there something that made you think, okay, I need to stop and I want to like review or assess whether this is what I want to do? Like, can you walk me through that?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for pointing into that point of time, and that's also for me tells a lot about you, that you indeed really well recognized that I was on a search. I think I would say to what I wanted, especially during that period of time. I remember after we met, I was staying some time by myself in Spain as well. And that was actually when I really started to think, and it was just before that I got a really big setback, and that made me initially started to think. And then when I started to think, at that point of time when we met, indeed, I found out that indeed what I was doing with dropshipping, even though you're generating a lot of money, at the end of the day, you're kind of, I was looking at what is it that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. And actually what I did was working on all workarounds to make as much money as possible. So I was not making something like a real business. I was trying to find ways to work around the fact with payment processing, for example, or with delivery, and make as much money on the front end as possible. And all things that come with it, you try to find a way to work around it, instead of actually creating something for the future and actually build a base layer with which you can create value for the customers. And then I realized that I was missing out on a lot of leverage that you can actually gain when you try to build something and build and stack upon it. Since for me there's a difference between working and building, I would say. Like building, you build things upon each other, and when you're working, which was for me the case with dropshipping, I was like working, but I was placing things next to each other, and I could never build like a proper foundation, because when I tried to scale, the tower would always fall down, and I would have to start all over again. So that's also something I would love to share with anyone who's watching, and that would be to start as soon as possible with building something, even though the dropshipping money can be seem to be so attractive. That's actually you have to then at a certain point stop, since you also mentioned, indeed there is money coming up. So what will be the point that you say that you're going to stop? Since there's still like a friend of mine who said, like, I still don't understand why you have stopped that store, because like I was, for example, running like on a 5 ROAS on like 1 to 2K a day at that point of time, and at a certain point I said, no, I'm going to stop this. I am going to pursue something else. And I said to him, like, the reason that I'm going to stop is I'm going to pursue like 9-figure business, and I'm not going to build anywhere close towards 9 figures with what I was doing then. So my point is that it's better, better have done that or made that decision yesterday than today. So you better do it today, so you don't regret it that you didn't make that decision tomorrow. So that's kind of the point that I want to make here, and also the advice that I give to people around me who are still dropshipping. Like, don't get me wrong, I've learned so much from dropshipping, also gained money which I can use right now in this business. But I see that that reason a lot, where people say, like, I'm going to do dropshipping, gain some money, and then I'm going to invest it into this or that. How many times have you heard that? But I think if you just start building straight away for the future, it makes so much more sense. And I think you are way more aligned to what you actually want to do. And for me, that meant a lot. And ever since, that has been one of the best decisions of my life so far, to do so, to set my ego aside, and to actually take like 2 steps back, 1 step back, to then take 2 steps forward. So I hope that kind of answer your questions. But that actually is something that really hit me at that point of time. And still, if I try to connect the dots looking back at it, that's something which I would really recommend people to do.
That's awesome, man. The building versus working is something that I didn't think about it that way, and I was gonna ask you, what are the pros and cons of being in dropshipping versus building your brand, which I think you tackled a little bit in that answer, and I think it all comes back to fulfillment and feeling that you're doing something good and not just for the money, because I feel like. And this is, I guess, one of the cons, not the cons, the pros of being in dropshipping is that you can make a lot of money, right? But at the end of the day, is like, does this align with what you want to do? Does this align with your vision, with who you are? I don't know. How would you summarize in like 3 pros and 3 cons of dropshipping versus having a brand now that you are trying to build one, so that people know, okay, this is for me, this is not for me. Should I start with drop shipping? Should I start with the brand directly? Because I feel like I think that's a question that many people ask themselves, because at the beginning, I guess it's difficult to think long term.
Yeah.
I think it's easier to take the money route, and it's totally like you did it, and like thousands of people did it, because it's a good way of making a living. But I guess my question is, how would you convince with like 2 to 3 points, if you want to convince them about building a brand first, or from the beginning, would you do it or not, and why, versus having a drop shipping stores?
Yeah, really good question. Again, like I would say, it's indeed about the mindset and the point where you want to start from. Do you want to gain the most results in 5 to 10 years, or do you want to gain the most results in 1 or 2 years? I think that's a question which you should ask yourself. And is this something where I want to build something and really build my life around this? As I said, like my life is about entrepreneurship and everything that comes with it. Instead of, for example, I want to do something on the side. Like I have my family already. I'm not able to work for like 1 to 2 years without making any earning, without having any income. Then I wouldn't suggest branding, which we'll get into in a bit as well. But that's a really important decision which you have to make for yourself. Because the funny thing is that even though with dropshipping you make more money on the short term, you make more money on the long term with branding, since you're building the leverage, which I already really quickly mentioned, which I already really quickly did just mention, and I will get deeper into that in a bit. So don't get me wrong, it's not that dropshipping the only con of is that you're not like aligned and you're not feeling well. In the end, you're also making less money with it. So the funny thing with that is that the pros of dropshipping is, for me, if you look at it on a long-term perspective, is that you learn so many things. So that has for me also has been the biggest pro for me, that I have learned so much during the dropshipping journey, which I can utilize right now in my entrepreneurship journey and in the brand that I'm doing right now. So coming down to marketing, team building, customer service, all down the line, I've learned it all with dropshipping. And even more important, I think you have seen a lot and also made mistakes where you could change the path really quickly. So you learned yourself a specific way of thinking and gained experience, which is really valuable. So when you get a setback, for example, how to go around that, and you learned a specific way of thinking when there's a setback coming, that there's a setback, I don't care about setbacks. I know, okay, great, let's go, we can move on, we learned something, and when we continue. So that's for me the biggest pro coming down to dropshipping, that you learn so much. So if you go into dropshipping by that way of thinking, you have, I think, the best of both worlds, because then you can also, for example, which is another pro of dropshipping, gain money on the short term, where you gain, since dropshipping is, when you do it in the right way, pretty cash flow positive, instead of, for example, building a brand with 3PL where you have to buy stock in advance. With dropshipping, you have a pretty cash flow positive business model, so you can also gain a lot of cash, which you can utilize later down the line when you want to build a brand. So that would be for me the two biggest pros of dropshipping. So not even the money that you can make with it, just the experience that you gain, the skills that you learn, and also the cash that you could possibly build with dropshipping. And then the cons for me with dropshipping would be that definitely you can get lost within it. I see so many guys getting lost within dropshipping, and also that their mindset is completely screwed because of dropshipping. They see the fast money, and their way of business is of doing business is their vision is completely screwed. They see people doing it, and have seen it with themselves. So their way of thinking about how to build a business is completely, if you ask me at least, the wrong way to go about it. Where they're only thinking of how can I make as much money on the short term, since they have seen it work with themselves. So say to them that they are wrong. Say to me that I was wrong when I was making 600K from zero to in 3 months. So in revenue, again, don't get me wrong, but for me, if you would say you're wrong, I would say, okay, see the numbers that I did. So, but then actually when somebody else would have been building a brand down the line, he could have so much leverage, which is another con of doing dropshipping, since what Iker said as well, building like blocks, like you're trying to scale like this on like one pile. So your tower is going to fall down, no matter what's happening, no matter in what way it's going to fall down either way. And well, someone who's like building layers on top of each other, he can scale way further than you are because he has like a proper foundation. And I think that's the biggest con of dropshipping, and that's also the reason which I just said why with branding you in the end would always, basically outscale and also, kill all the dropship competitors, because at a certain point they see you coming, and they can't stop you anymore because you have so much leverage, you have so much momentum, and you have so much foundations that you build, that if they then try to keep up with you, there's no way that they can compete with you. Even though it could be that for 2 or 3 years they have been going faster than you are, but believe me, like I'm coming to get them, and then they are gone. So that's kind of like for me the two biggest pros and the two biggest cons. So once more to wrap it up, for me, if you go about dropshipping where you are going to learn a lot and also build cash flow, which you could later down the line use, I think it's a good way to go about it, with the warning that please guys be aware that you don't see money coming in and then keep on going, because then it's not anymore for just the learning, and then it's not anymore for just building the cash, because if you have the cash and you keep on scaling, you could lose a lot of time which you could possibly use in your journey where you are going to build for the future. Like again, I could continue building like and generating 1 to 5k a day in profit, but I could also, I think that 6 months or 12 months that I've been doing that would cost me way more down the line with second and third order consequences when I would have not invested that time into building your business. So then make the transition in towards branding, so you overcome the two cons that I just mentioned, which again are the fact that you're losing a lot of leverage with dropshipping, and as well you don't have, like, in the end, I think the fulfillment that you're looking for, and have the complete wrong way to go about business. Because for me that has also been something that I really have to like actively tell to myself, okay, this is wrong, and it really took me like 2 to 3 months to change my perspective on how to do business. So those are really important things to keep in mind around the journey, and I would really advise anyone to take those with you when you're building, and also when you're making decisions.
That's awesome, man. I was gonna ask you this follow-up question, because I feel like maybe now that you've been building your brand and you see what it takes, you talk about the foundations, the leverage, and everything. If you had to start all over again, you were 15, even just knowing what you know, would you start first with the drop shipping, learn skills, make some money, and then pour that into building a brand? Or would you like go all in, even though it's, you're not going to make money at the beginning? Hopefully you do, but usually it's more difficult. Would you do it all over again the same way you've been doing it, or would you change and just go all into the brand?
Really, I think this is actually the best question that you've asked so far. Actually, like I've been thinking about this myself as well. When I try to embody other friends of mine, for example, who are dropshipping, like what would I do in their position, and which route should I take? So my view on this is that I think the biggest difficulty here is that when you make the decision, okay, I want to build for my brand, okay, let's go, I made the decision, but what am I going to do now? You don't know, okay, I'm going to build a brand, but which brand am I going to use? Like the brand that I'm using, it's not like a regular D2C brand where we are pushing products with just our white labeling our logo. It's like there's a lot more coming with it. So maybe building a brand is not the right way, but building an agency is the right way to do. Like my point is that you build something for the future, and when you gain a lot of business knowledge, you know what's that about. So for me right now, I would say, like, okay, try to make money by like having a side hustle. For example, even if you work as an employee in a company, for example, you can try to apply for jobs where you would start, for example, I don't know, as a customer service manager. You learn a lot of things there as when it comes to what is going on in a business. If you start, maybe you even start as a customer service rep, within 3 months, if you are like like a real A player, you can, and your founder and your manager is like a good guy and he knows what he does, he will promote you and you can go to customer service manager, I don't know, COO or something. Because the point that I say this is you have no way that you're going to lose money because you're going to make money either way because you work for a boss. Plus you learn a lot there. And that's a really important perspective and side of things, since then you have that pro of the dropshipping that I just mentioned, that you learn a lot, plus you make money without having the chance of losing money, since that's a downside of dropshipping as well. There's also a possibility that it won't work for you, and you get demotivated, and you see like, okay, I maybe this is not for me, and then you're going to lose it. So that's something which I would recommend. Like, do it in that way so you can learn it, plus you can build on the money, and then from there you will find out. But the really important step with that is, okay, you maybe don't know what you want to build right now, and maybe not in 1 or 2 or 3 months. But the 2 or 3 months that I was lost, that I was on a search, as we did just discussed, has been like maybe my highest ROI months I've ever had. But then it was when I found the company, because I was actively looking towards it. I was looking into articles, what are successful startups. I was really actively looking around me, what is going on, what are the trends that are popping up. And if you go about it in that way, it will maybe take 1, 2, 3, maybe even 6 months before you will find something. But that's for me the right way to go about it. Instead of, for example, trying to go with dropshipping and then building a brand from there. And that's because I think you can get lost. You get the wrong way about thinking with dropshipping, as I just said. Plus, I think there's also a really good chance that when you don't go all into dropshipping, you will be outskilled by all the guys that are doing like really big numbers with dropshipping, that have the systems. So you get demotivated and see like, maybe business is not for me. So again, my advice really would be, and I think this is the best advice that I gave, is to start somewhere as a customer service rep. It might even be you're going to earn 15 euros an hour guaranteed. You're going to make, I don't know, 2,500 euros a month, like guaranteed. And then try look around what is happening. Go learn for yourself. Try to dedicate time that you have next to that into, okay, what is business about? What do I want? And then make your promotion down the line in that specific business as a customer service manager, as a COO possibly. And then you really see what's going on. And then you see like, whoa, what? I can do this myself as well. Let's go. You learn so much down the line, and then you have also the capital, because if you do that for like 12 months, like 2,000 euros a month, that would be like, let's say 25,000 that you have on the side to build on your business. Plus, during that year, by investing the time to learn for yourself next to your job, plus in your job itself, you learn so much about business in general, which you then could dedicate towards what you want to build. So I think that's the best advice I could give you, and that's because of your question, a really good question, Austin.
Nice, thank you. I think that was really good. I would summarize it this way. So if you want to build a brand, you probably need to think more long term. So maybe learning skills in some way, not just by, okay, I'm gonna start a brand, because that's what you said, like, okay, what do I do? Like, you have no knowledge, you have no skills. So maybe start something on the side while you do that research, while you start looking at trends, seeing what's going on, and then it will come with the skills and with time, because this is the key, I think. It takes time to build a brand. So I guess having something on the side to make some money while you can invest in trying to build that brand, or researching, or doing whatever you need to start that project. And if you don't do that, because I think there's no good or right answer here. It's, if you start with drop shipping, I would say you need to be aware of the consequences and of the mindset that you can get into if you don't separate both. Like, okay, I'm just gonna do this to make some money, and then do something more long lasting, because that's what you said, like, you get lost in making money. Like, if you want to build really good dropshipping stores and want to be with the top level guys, you need to create systems that are optimized for dropshipping. They're not optimized for building a brand, So I guess for the people who will be watching this, is there's no right or wrong answer, but I think always thinking long term is better. And you just need to do whatever you need to do. If you want to learn skills through dropshipping, just be aware of the type of business model that dropshipping is. And if you want to go the other route, just make sure you try to learn skills in a different way in a job, through courses, through whatever you can do to just, build yourself up and build some, your bank account a little bit, and then reinvest and try to go long term. I don't know if that summarizes it well, but
definitely it does. And I want to add two really quick things to that. Since like the point that you mentioned, I think where I made that decision, where I advise people to go on the route to for example, work in a company and then build something for yourself. I think the two routes that we did just discuss is also dependent on, okay, are you someone who is like in general more like someone who likes to attack a lot, or are you more like a defensive person? If you like really aggressive and you would say like I can have a lot, I think you can also go about it with dropshipping and do it in that way. But if you say like I prefer to be a bit more safe, like build defensive, I think the way that I did just advised would be the better way to go about it. And a framework which to practicize the advice that you did just gave is what decision, when you're making a decision, also in this case, which decision will bring me the most rewards in 5 or 10 years down the line. If you use that framework, you most of the time will make the right decision. Some of the times, like that framework will be the same. So when you're, for example, deciding, okay, do I want to go partying right now or do I want to go work? Like both of this, if you do it like what makes the most money tomorrow or what makes the most money in 5 years, both will be to go to work. But for example, in this case, which will make me the most money on the long term is a really good framework which you can use in here. So which is this going to make me more money today, or is this going to make me more money in 5 years? And then always go for that second one, because and then you really have to take all those other things into account. So that's a really good framework to indeed use the advice. Think long term, because I can imagine that's a bit vague. So yeah, I think that framework will really help you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Alex or Moses says like, what would my 80-year-old self say, right? Something like that. I think that's also a good framework. It's and not even only like the money side. What would that is a really good point. What and a really good framework is, what would I be most fulfilled with in 10 years, in 20 years? What would I be most proud of 10, 20 years? Because maybe money is the most important thing to you, so use that for your framework. But if it's something else, just use that to be, okay, I made the right decision when I could have made the wrong one. So just thinking long term is just, I think the first thing is knowing what you want. And I think you did that, exercise that it may take like 1 week, it may take 1 year, and in your case it was like 3 months, right? Just think about what you want long term, and then reverse engineer and be like, okay, what do I need to do? And when I'm faced with two options for a decision, if you are based on, if you base the decision on your vision and on your values, it's going to be clear. So I think that would be like for anyone who's watching, just thinking long term, thinking about what you want, not now, but in 10 years. And that's the same with like, I want to be, shredded in a year, but today you have to decide between a salad and a burger, like what would you do? It's kind of like the same thing. Okay, Nick, I want to just talk a little bit about kind of like what it takes to build a long-lasting D2C brand, because you are now currently building Revive, and you talked about foundations and leverage, and I want to kind of like just touch into that a little bit, because one of the things that I see with dropshipping stores and cash on delivery people that I know is that they focus on first customer acquisition. And then they have like thousands and thousands and thousands of people in their lists, but they don't use it. And it's always a game of how can I get more customers? And I think that's, it's just not sustainable, because you eventually will run out, of people who to sell. And also there's, I guess, because they focus more on the front end, all the customer experience, all the, packaging, product, everything that has to do with after the purchase, they just don't care, because it's about optimizing to the outcome, which is making money. So what would you say are the foundations and the leverage and the things that you need to build that are different to drop shipping for a D2C brand?
Yeah, the biggest difference here, and that's what I remembered really well when Alex Ramosi said this as well. He was analyzing like the really big brands and like the smaller brands. What was the difference? And he found out that actually their CPA was kind of the same, even though like they, of course, like the bigger brands were doing it on a higher scale. But let's say you have a supplement brand, for example, like AG1 and another supplement brand. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with AG1, but it's like, I think, a really pretty well-known supplement brand. And for example, their cost per acquisition is like 50 euros on Meta, but they are spending, let's say, 100,000 euros a day. Another small D2C brand is spending like 1,000 euros a day, and they have the same CPA of 50 euros. What is the difference that AG1 can scale to like 100,000 euros a day, and the smaller brand only 1,000? The difference is in the LGTP, like the lifetime gross profit. That's where LTGP, that's the one, like the metric where Alex Ramosi also always is referring to, which comes down like LTV, but then the profit of that. So basically the lifetime gross profit that you make from a specific customer. If you have a brand where like recurring and all those kinds of things are like, it's happening, then you can scale way further, since you know that that customer will come back and back. Because if you, like a funny fact, if you let your customer come back once, you increase your ROAS by 2 overnight. So if you can tell me like another thing that would increase my ROAS by 2 overnight, like I would be happy to do it. But that's actually what a lot of people oversee, and I think that's what's the difference between building a brand and dropshipping. And as you say, CPAs are always rising, so you try to, even though you try to minimize it, that's a fact. So if you're going to scale, you will be out of business one day if you don't focus on the recurring customers. And believe me, if you want to make a customer come back and do that over and over again, you have a pretty hard job. And that's for me the funny thing about business. Because over the past 9 months, the only thing that I focused on was trying to have the customer to come back. And that's where the money is actually made. Because then you can scale like with CPAs, how high did you ever want it? So focus on that lifetime gross profit of the customer, and you're basically building a brand.
Awesome, man. And I want to be mindful of your time, but I just want to ask one question about retention and all this topic that we just opened is, okay, so what are you specifically doing in terms of like your retention strategy to make that happen, to make that like not only make that customer purchase once, but purchase multiple times and increase your LGTV, LTGV, whatever, you guys know what we mean. Okay, what are you doing in terms of like, are you using email? Are you using SMS? Are you using WhatsApp? I mean, I know the answer, but I think it's pretty important because specifically to your brand, which is a little bit different, it's like a personalized customer experience. How do you use that to not only make the first purchase really enjoyable in terms of customer experience, but how do you make people come back to purchase again?
Yeah, make sure you stay in touch with them at first. Make sure that you have a product that actually makes sense for people to buy multiple times. For example, like I sell clothing boxes, and everyone is buying clothing every year, if not every season. Same, for example, like why you see so many supplements brands scaling, because that's something you have to use each and every month or each and every quarter. So that's something where it starts, and then build a proper customer experience, as you mentioned, but I think that speaks for itself. And you can do so basically by call your customer, ask what went wrong, what went well, the things that went wrong, basically improve it, and you make steps each and every month. But then it's still really important that, okay, you have people that like your brand, but how are they going to come back? And indeed, that's where marketing email marketing specifically, and also WhatsApp marketing, which as Iker also really quickly referred to, I'm using as well, is coming in. And yeah, Iker knows way more about this, about the technical stuff. But the thing that I know is that it starts with making a customer happy, and then they are willing to actually buy from you again. And then it's about having a proper strategy in which you have on the back end, say like with the sunset flow, or even it could be like, would you love to receive a reminder when you want to order again? It could be as simple as that, which then like a specialist like Iker in this case can build around with. But I think Iker can agree that if he has no happy customers, he can do whatever he wants, but they are not going to come back.
Yeah, for sure. That's certain. And I think honestly, it's not that difficult. Like once you like, I see so many like when I audit accounts and I see what clients that we start working with do. I'm like, it's so easy to stand out if you just put a little bit of effort and thinking into what people want and what they need. Honestly, like if you just take care of not only like the pre-purchase experience and you just think a little bit about the customer and what it takes for someone to come back, it's honestly like with the competition that there is at the moment, it's really easy to stand out. Okay, so Nick, just final two questions here for you. You talked about thinking long term, and I think this is one of the main takeaways of the talk, I think today. What is your, I guess, I don't know if you have a 5-year vision, 10-year vision, or goal. What is it for you in terms of, I don't know, even with the brand specifically or yourself? Yeah,
basically like I want to build to 9 figures. So fun fact is also, for example, that I'm trying to record. So I'm recording like some videos every now and then on my YouTube channel as well. I call it like the series Road to 9 Figures. I kind of do it for just for myself to look back at it in a couple years. But that's the goal, 9 figures. I'm not sure how long it will take, but I think that will be at least like a 10-year horizon. So that will be that's like the main goal for us. And basically what I then do is reverse engineer. So it started with the first order. How can I get the first order? Now we are on a specific number of orders a week. For example, like right now we are doing about 50 orders a week. Okay, then how are we going to scale to like 150? And that will be my way to go about it. What is it that we need to in this phase to scale to that specific order number, and then so on and so on. And then before you know it, you are at like 9 figures. So believe me, there's nothing that's going to stop us.
For sure, man. Thanks for sharing that. And just as a final note, I wanted to ask you, like, what is one piece of advice that you'd give to anyone who's watching, or who's watching this video? What is one piece of advice based on your experience that you would give that person that is trying to build a brand now, or in 2025, or from now on? Yeah, I think the most important part is that as we just mentioned, that that it's about thinking for the long term. But you said like think about something that aligns with your vision, and I think for me a really good indicator that you're on the right path is excitement. I think excitement is what differs for me. For example, like a year ago compared to now, what is it that makes you wake up in the morning? I think that's a really well indicator for excitement. If you feel excitement from a specific project, always go for it. Just don't look at other things, because that's what other people also always say about me. Like if I'm excited, I might be a bit naive and don't think about what could go wrong. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm further than they are. So please just follow excitement. And I think that's a really good indicator for where you should go. Yeah, I think problems will arise whatever you do, so it's better to just approach it that way and then just solve the problems along the way. So, yeah, man, thank you so much for being here. Where can people follow you or check out your brand? Sure. Yeah, feel free to follow me on Instagram. It's just my name, Niek. I think it's just a V, Niek Van Asten, I think it is on Instagram.
People can follow me on YouTube. Like I only have like 80 subscribers or something like that. I've said it multiple times. I just record the videos for myself. But if you would love to follow what I just said, you can do so there. And yeah, besides that, please feel free to check like LinkedIn pages or like our website to see what we do, to maybe get some inspiration from it, and maybe you can try to compete. No, all in all jokes aside, just try to get some inspiration from it and build something for yourself. Don't compare yourself too much with other people.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for being here. For the people who are watching, leave a comment, show some love for Nick. I think it was a really, really good talk, and I really appreciate your time, man.
Thank you, man. No worries. Thank you for the invite.